Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So today we have invited Mr. TonyTeo, Huttons Senior District Director, to share more insights with us. Tony has been marketing international properties since 2013. He's a strong believer in gaining financial freedom via rental income, and he owns 14 properties, of which 3 are in Singapore and 11 overseas. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. TonyTeo. Over to you, Tony.
Great, thank you very much. And a very good evening to all of you who are tuning in right now to this webinar. We have over 100 now watching and more coming in. So since the start of this Huttons Consumer Connect webinar, since the early May, we have heard from several speakers who shared about the Singapore property market and considerations on what to do now in view of COVID-19. Today, I will share with you the following. Okay, firstly, why I strongly believe in property investment. Secondly, what I did to grow my property portfolio to 14 properties with monthly passive income of about $17,000 a month. Where are the properties within my portfolio? How you can also grow your passive income without ABSD and TDSR. And finally, when to buy and sell property to make money. Okay, so I will be covering the why, what, where, how, and when within the next 50 minutes or so, and keep the last 10 minutes for any Q&A. And hopefully this session will help you think about your retirement plan. And I believe you will also learn how you can multiply your wealth and become $1 to $2 million richer or to achieve financial freedom after this webinar. Okay, so why do I strongly believe in property investment? It is an age-old saying that rich people either become rich through investing in real estate, or they grow rich via business and then continue to grow or preserve their wealth in real estate. So why do the rich prefer property as their safe haven? Firstly, you can see real estate is the only asset that has number one, capital preservation. So although investors usually think of capital appreciation first, capital preservation is definitely a very important factor for investment, even though it's less talked about. Few assets provide this safety. For example, stocks may go up quickly and could provide good returns during the good times, but they are also very volatile and could crash overnight with just the slightest bad news, just like what we've witnessed recently. And sometimes some stocks could never recover again, like penny stocks. Whereas for real estate, we know that it almost always doesn't become worthless overnight. Secondly is capital appreciation. Yes, while some stocks may provide this, stocks are very volatile as mentioned earlier. Whereas for real estate, the general trend or direction is always upwards, as we have seen in Singapore and in most other countries. This is simply due to inflation, the increasing cost of land, the increasing cost of construction, the increasing affordability and living standards. Thirdly, rental yield. Yes, again, some stocks and bonds may provide stable dividends, but usually it is lower and less stable than rental yields from real estate. And if you buy the property early, generally the rental income and yield goes up over time due to inflation. And finally, loan leverage. This is unique to real estate, where you can use other people's money to grow your wealth. So that's very good, right? In fact, that's how the rich grow richer. Okay, banks usually will encourage us to borrow for buying real estate, but you notice banks will not lend you money for buying stocks, gold, or other investments. This reinforces the fact that banks also believe that real estate is a safer asset which provides capital preservation, capital appreciation, and rental yield. So property loan leverage is generally good, and the rich usually continue to buy properties using loan wherever possible rather than paying fully in cash. So I like to share this simple story of two friends, Mr. Tan Kuku and Mr. Tan Wee Kiang. Okay, both of them have $1 million in cash each. So Mr. Tan Kuku, being very conservative, he decides to save his $1 million in the bank. Whereas Mr. Tan Wee Kiang, being investment savvy, decides to buy 3 properties at $1 million each by putting about 30% down payment for each of the properties with a 70% loan leverage. So question is, 30 years later, who will be wealthier? Okay, 30 years later, Mr. Tan Kuku's 1 million in the bank grows to about 1.35 million, assuming a 1% interest per year. Whereas for Mr. Tan Wee Kiang, assuming the properties also grow just 1% per annum, each one will be worth 1.35 million. So 3 properties will be worth 4.05 million versus 1.35 million if he had left his money in the bank, like Mr. Tan Kuku. who is essentially incurring opportunity costs due to inflation. Now, even if the properties didn't appreciate in value at all, which is unlikely, Mr. Tan Wee Kiang would still have $3 million worth of properties. So he has multiplied his wealth 3 times by using other people's money, having the tenants pay fully or partially for the loan. This is the power of leverage. And this is why capital appreciation is not always the most important factor for real estate investment. Of course, it's best if we also earn from capital appreciation. Now, a tip here is start investing young because it's harder to obtain a loan as we grow older, and also the monthly repayment goes up with the shorter tenure. Now, you'll probably say it's not possible to take a 70% loan for all 3 properties if we want to buy them in Singapore now. And you're right, because of the loan to valuation limits on Singapore housing loans as shown here. So for your second housing loan in Singapore, maximum you can take is 45% and maximum 35% if it's your third housing loan. But do take note that these do not take into consideration overseas housing loans. So if you were to take a loan for an overseas property, it doesn't impact your LTV for your next Singapore property purchase. Furthermore, housing loan leverage in Singapore is subjected to TDSR, the total debt servicing ratio. Basically, it means that our total expenses, including the housing loan repayment amount, cannot exceed 60% of our income. So while your Huttons agent who invited you to this seminar can propose possible solutions like pledging or unpledging, show funds, with a banker in order to overcome TDSR, the loan to valuation limits on the previous slide still apply. Now, let me share with you the story of what I did to grow my property portfolio. I bought my first condo in 2005 when I was 27 years old. It was City Lights at Lavender for only $850,000 back then, and I only was required to pay a 10% down payment. Okay, by 2009, the price had doubled to 1.7 million. Okay, and I decided to sell it to cash out on the profit rather than having the burden of paying a high monthly installment, as I was young and not earning much then. So I used the profit to buy the condo that I'm currently staying in. Before I joined the real estate industry, I was exposed to self-improvement courses and books, and I knew I wanted to be financially free. Financial freedom is broadly when your monthly passive income is more than your monthly expenses, based on the lifestyle that you wish to have for you and your loved ones. Wouldn't it be great not to have to work every day, or to work only out of passion and not for money, or to travel as and when you wish, to live the lifestyle you wish and give the best of everything to your family and loved ones, and not to worry at all about income, even during uncertain times like these? If we don't have passive income, the likelihood is that we will never be able to retire. So I went about looking for properties to invest in. In 2011, when prices came down slightly, there was a correction. I entered the market again, investing in a 1-bedroom in River Valley. And at the end of 2012, I bought another 1-bedroom for investment next to Next Shopping Mall at Upper Serangoon and paid a 3% ABSD then. So of course, there are ways to restructure your portfolio so that you are not subjected to ABSD, such as decoupling, buying under trust, or asset progression. So asset progression is commonly known as upgrading or sell one, buy one, or even possibly sell one and buy two, one under the husband and one under the wife, so that no ABSD is applicable. So you can again check with your Huttons agent who invited you if you wish to learn more about these. But what if you can't decouple anymore, or you need financing or loan leverage that is not available for buying under trust, or you don't wish to sell your current home in order to do asset progression? By 2013, I already own 3 properties in Singapore, just like some of you who may already have multiple properties in Singapore. So the question is, how else can you grow your property portfolio and passive rental income without incurring ABSD and being subjected to the LTV and TDSR regulations? And of course, another way is to invest in overseas properties which are not subjected to ABSD, the LTV regulations, or TDSR if you are taking a loan from a bank outside Singapore.